Hi, this is Athena StarSeed, and this is a series about transformation, love, light, and blessings. And I have an incredible guest today, Deirdre Morgan, who is an author. She is also best known internationally as a numerologist, an ordained minister of interpersonal counseling, and also alternative healing. But before we start and meet her, I just want to pray us in. So everybody who's watching, please take a nice deep breath. Inhale and exhale. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men, let light return to earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men and women. May the Christ return to earth. In the center where the will of God is known, let the center guide the little wills of men, the center which the masters know and serve, and may it seal the door where darkness dwells. May the plan of love, light, and power restore heaven on earth. Archangel Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, Father Sky, Mother Earth, from the point of light that connects us all, please be here in the sacred circle of light. Allow me to be a clear channel for all involved. Blessings and blessings and blessings. And now we are between the worlds. Thank you so much. So back to our amazing guest and a client of mine for the last year. I'm so honored to even read for this woman. She was one of the first waivers, and she is a lighthouse, an illuminary. She's also, as I said, internationally known as a numerologist, an ordained minister for alternative healing, interpersonal counseling, and an incredible author of this beautiful new book, hot off the press, which I got delivered to my home, which you can too. It's called Heart Speak. Deirdre Morgan, please tell us a little bit about who you are.
Oh, I'd love to. And thank you so much for having me, Athena. This is really fun for me. So many thanks. Oh, who am I? Oh, I'm just another soul in a human body like all of us. And I'm here to learn about love and loving and being loved, and to be a creative, dynamic flow of energy in the world. So it's a very simple life. And it really is a simple life for all of us. We just like to complicate it up and create dramas and stories and test our own abilities. It's really a playground here if we allow it to be. And that's really what Heart Speak is about. It's about the language of the heart that allows you the options, the choices to create a successful, happy, fulfilling life. Because life is a game. And when we get down here in this body suit of ours, we forget all that. We forget that there are three elements to God: light, love, and joy, or as I like to call it, laughter. We forget the laughter. And this is where I believe we're being called back to during this time frame, to remember that we are joyful co-creators here. Is that enough? Good start?
That is absolutely beautiful. And I wanted to go back to your childhood, because I found out that really with most first waivers, they did have pretty magical childhood times, and they were already communicating to the unseen worlds. Was that your story, or how did it happen?
No, you are right. I had a great childhood. I was so happy during my childhood. We lived in a time, when you left the keys in the car and your doors to your home were open, and there was a neighborhood gang of kids that we would play outside every night on the street, whether it was dodgeball or kickball. Those things weren't outlawed back then. And next to my home, there was this woods where we used to play pirates and cops and robbers and good guys and bad guys. I mean, it was very idyllic childhood, really. It was simple. I loved school. My passions were piano and tennis. Life was simple. It was very simple back then. I walked to school. I walked a mile and a half every day to school and back and so forth. And the good news about that is I attribute that to my good health now and longevity, because there was so much exercise back in the day, so to speak. Yeah.
Now, did you did you have imaginary friends? Were you speaking to your angels at that point? Tell us a little bit about how you spiritually started developing this connection.
I didn't. I just came in thinking this is the way everybody was, naturally happy, naturally perceptive, sensitive to people and what they were feeling and needs. I mean, I didn't make any separation, and I didn't have guides. I did have the Christ with me often. He would skip to school with me, and I was very aware of that. But honestly, when I went to study, and I did study 6 years at the Kairos Institute for metaphysical and parapsychological studies. It was down in San Diego at the time. I was labeled the natural psychic. So I just came in this way. And I am right brain, say 90% of the time, which creates its own challenges. Believe me, when I have to balance my checkbook and stuff like that. But no, it wasn't about communicating with the other side, the other world. I just always knew what I knew. And as I look back on it now, I think I did so well at school because I would just click on the right brain, and if I didn't know an answer, the answer would bubble up. So it wasn't about contacting someone or being on the other side. I was brought up Roman Catholic. I loved going to Mass. I loved Latin. I studied Latin for 4 years in school. I just loved life. And I really attribute that the secret to my success. I love life.
Would you consider yourself claircognizant, clairaudient, clairvoyant?
I would consider myself clairaudient, clairsentient, and as they call it now, clear knowing. Okay, clairsentient is clear feeling, which is something I feel in my solar plexus with people. So I use clairsentient if I'm doing a body scan, if they want to know about their health. I am not a medical intuit in that I don't have credentials in that area, but I can scan a body and let people know where they may have some stuck energy that may cause them an issue down the road or something. I'm clairaudient. I hear a lot of information that I'm channeling and passing on. And then I just know it. You know? And I think that's what being a natural psychic means. You just know it, and there's no explanation.
So how long have you been doing your intuitive psychic work with humanity? How long have you been having clients?
Well, I started way back when I was married, had 3 sons, and they were 3 very active young men under the age of 7. And because no one really wanted to come babysit 3 boys, I had to figure out some kind of exercise and some kind of interest that wouldn't conflict. And I could do it because I was losing my sense of self rapidly at that point. And I took a yoga class, and the yoga class led me to reading Yogananda's book, Autobiography of a Yogi. And so I joined Self-Realization and took their courses. I'm still a Kriyaban. I still do Kriya, and I love it. So things just evolved that way. What was
that was okay. Was that like 35 years ago?
Oh, no. That was more like 40.
Okay, so like here we go. This is our connection here too.
Yeah.
So Paramahansa Yogananda, about 15 years ago, I did also read this book, and I started having some pretty supernatural things happening to me after I read the book. So did your psychic skills turn up after this book?
No. What happened was I read that book, and we were living in New Jersey at the time, and one morning, for whatever reason, I had the radio on. Now, I am not a person that has the radio on or has noise going on. I like silence. But I had the radio on. I was making beds, and a woman named Marguerite Hames was being interviewed on the radio about numerology. And she was talking about how numerology was a tool to understand who you were, your personality, your skills, and what you were here to do on earth. Well, I poo-pooed it. 100%. I was totally skeptic, but I decided I'm going to go take that class with her, and I'll prove that it's not so. So here I am, 40 some odd years later, and I still haven't proved it wrong.
No, let me ask you something. Can you please share with us the three main numbers that you have in your life path, and your birthday number, and whatever your destiny, so that we understand who you really are and what your mission is?
My life path is a 13-4.
What's that mean? And just describe what that means for everybody.
Well, 13-4, 4 is the number of authority manifestation work, but the 13-4 is a karmic number, which indicates that in other lifetimes I was a goof off. I was a jet setter. I didn't contribute. I didn't use my talents and skills. I was a playgirl, if you can believe that. But anyway, that's what that indicates. It also, 13 in the ancient days was considered the most powerful number in the universe because it holds the 1 of the creator, with the 3 of our own spark of creativity and divinity, which when put together means you can manifest whatever you want, okay? So 13 is a very powerful number, but you have to, I had to get through a whole bunch of issues and challenges that I had about it, but it is a 13-4, okay? So 13s are always required to contribute for lasting benefit. And that's the key to it. So that's that. My full name at birth was a 13-4. So I had two lifetimes where I goofed off and just played instead of contributing. And my soul urge is a 5, which of course is the number of, is the bridge between worlds, is the adventurer, the risk taker, loves change, loves options, travels, all of which I've done. So that's my setup, so to speak. But I had a double karmic review here to work through, where I just had been a playgirl.
So with your needing your soul urge, needing to have a destiny to leave the planet in a better place, you channeled this book? Where did Heart Speak come from? How did you decide to do this, and how did it get created?
Well, I just love this book, by the way. And we're going to put a new cover on it. I've decided that I think a pale robin's egg blue is more appropriate for the times. But anyway, Heart Speak just it did come out of the blue. But it also, I was able to write it because I had spent 20, 30 years as an empowerment coach, or as Greg Braden likes to call it, clarity coach, which I think is a really sharp name for it. And I've been helping people to help themselves. I operate as a guide. And one of the first things in empowerment that I always recommended was win-win communication. But after that discipline, there was the words you choose. And I began to notice that, people would come in and they'd say, well, I've been trying so hard. I've been trying and trying. And all of a sudden I began to see that these were what I call struggle words. They are part of the third dimensional language that come under the separatist old boys paradigm of doubt, fear, and lack, or the scarcity mentality, as we call it. And I began to see how words can reflect scarcity, and other words are more energized by trust, love, and a belief in abundance. And that was the direction we were going. I knew we were moving out of the third dimension. So the fourth dimension, which is empowerment code, would have to we'd have to use language where we could connect up as co-creators to the new energy that was based in love, trust, and abundance. And of course, the belief in abundance comes from the recognition that you realize it's all inside you. You have everything you need. It's there. You just have to choose to use it and pull it up and activate it. And of course, we get into trouble sometimes because we have blocks about pulling it up, or a block about believing in abundance, or that we have it all. And so that's where coaching comes in. But right now, we're in the fourth dimension. So we need to know the language that's going to help create a strong, faster link to the universal mind stuff with our creative mind stuff.
So I just want to say, I absolutely was blown away by this book. Blown away. So those of you who are watching right now, I got mailed this book, and then it got lost in the mail, and then she mailed it to me again, and I sat down and read it cover to cover. And I want to read you guys the very first thing that you read when you open this book. Every person right now on the planet definitely should get this book. It's a beautiful little book, but it is like a little metaphysical Bible. These are key codes to actually transform your reality and your dimension and have you jump up octaves. And here is the first quote that she has at the very beginning. Be careful when speaking. You create the world around you with your words. And this is from a Navajo. And when did you discover this?
I don't know. You know, I come across a lot of things in papers and articles are sent to me, and I always peruse them. And I figure it's an angel, it's a guide, it's the higher power up there sending me the words. That's
so
all.
When our words create our reality, this is a simple little book, but it's so profound. So don't overlook the simplicity, because most of the time the simple is where actually the juju is. That's where, like, you know, the kingdom of heaven is within. And first there was the word, and this says for word, before word. And you really talk about why we need to be mindful of how we speak, because the world has changed and it's going to continue to change, and our life is changing. And when I read this book cover to cover, I said, oh my gosh, the whole planet is kind of in, we can say quarantine, or I call it a retreat. And this is the perfect time for them to sit and read this book, because they can wordsmith their way out of their lockdown and actually have a breakthrough. Instead of a breakdown, they can have a breakthrough. So let's talk a little bit about abracadabra.
The magical word. Yeah, which means as you speak, so it is. It's been, popularized, let's put it that way. So it means poof, magic happens. But in truth, abracadabra represents the feminine, the sacred feminine power of creativity. And feminine power does seem magical, for the simple reason that when you're in your heart and when you're loving what you're doing or what you want to accomplish or whatever going on, but when you're leading with the heart, things fall into place. It is effortless. It is magical. And that's something that we have to embrace as part of our humanity. We don't have to grow through pain and suffering. Why? I don't know about you, but I've abdicated that paradigm. And this is what fourth dimension is. It's about moving into your heart, which is based in love. The heart is filled with love. It is not filled with fear. It may be walled up with our doubts and fears, but the heart is filled with love.
So the main part of this is really that instead of having mind speak, which is where we're coming from in 3D, right? So the third chakra and the mind are connected. Mm-hmm. So you're moving people up into the fourth chakra, which is heart speak. Can you connect your language, your fifth chakra, and your heart together, mm-hmm. so that you can wordsmith your reality with a higher resonance? And that comes from, you said, that feminine aspect that's in every human, the masculine and feminine. The feminine, the left heart connected to the right hemisphere, is enabling us to go back to, as a man thinketh, so is he. You have that also in your book. And that word creates life. And words can create ease, joy, and fulfillment, or they can create anxiety, struggle, and failure. And words that are negative create separation, and words that are additive, I like you said, additive or affirmative energy, they're connecting community and community
Connection. They're
connected.
about connection. And they make connection to the universal creative mind. You can call it the affirmative energy field. You can call it source, whatever. I'm not fussy about labels as long as you know in your heart what you're talking about. But these words connect immediately to that ultimate creativity. And so the process becomes easier. It becomes more fulfilling. We all grow and expand inside. And that's where peace on earth can come from. Peace on earth isn't possible under the third dimension, because the basic premise of the third dimension, or the basic paradigm of the third dimension, is we are separated from God. And no, we're not, because we are made in God's image, which to me means we have that spark of divinity, which is creative and loving in us. So we are in our God self, and we are connected to God always, unless we choose to abandon and not believe. And that we have free will. And that's part of someone's lesson, isn't it? Who are we?
It is extraordinary, because I mean, these chapters are so amazing and empowering. Like you said, you have in here the negative word patterns that you can just glance at, and people can kind of really analyze themselves, saying, wow, how many times do I say worry? How many times do I say want, put something outside of myself? How many times do I use guilt, or shoulda, woulda, coulda, or all these, or but, and hope, and things that you might think that are innocent, or if. And you actually really showed people the truth behind their languaging, putting them in a prison sentence, and then being able to either enslave them or empower them. Now, when you do work with people one-on-one, Audrey, can you tell within the first 5 minutes of their languaging what their issues are?
No, because I don't work that fast. I know just by looking at their spiritual contract, the direction we'll head. But as I say, I work as a guide. I don't work as a teacher. I don't work as a guru. I want people the benefit of discovering it for themselves, because that's what really empowers them. If I'm there telling them this and that and the other thing and what to do and how to do it, then that doesn't empower them. That just enables them to give their power over to me. And frankly, I don't want it. I love you, but I don't want your power. I want you to have your power. And that's what the new language is about. These are words that have enough creative energy and passion behind them that they allow you to create and live a life that's fulfilling and dynamic. That's as good as it gets.
You know what's amazing is I felt like when I read this book, it was supposed to be delivered right here, right now, for the planet, going through this virus, you know, the coronavirus, which is like the corona, which is like the crown chakra, opening up to the heavens, and then pouring in new consciousness, new data, new conscious languaging. And you talk about believing out loud. What do you mean by that?
That means you believe it, whether you really are convinced of it or not. You speak it as if it is fact. In fact, we know now that to manifest easily, you have to, what I always say, fake it till you make it. You have to pretend or imagine it's already done, it's already accomplished. This again moves the manifesting process along more smoothly. So there are less struggles, delays, and interruptions, so to speak. So it's believe it out now. We know that if you hear something often enough, you'll believe it. Well, talk to yourself, believe it.
You know, something really beautiful. I was looking through all the things to do and the things not to do. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of pointers in here specifically for me. And one of my favorite chapters is Soul in Growth. Oh, yeah. And this talks about the greatest phrase to get you out of stop judging is to realize that every soul is in growth. And I know judgment lowers the vibration. So can you talk about that?
Well, yeah, judging gets us stuck. And it doesn't matter whether you're judging something a plus or a minus. Particularly if it's a plus, you want to keep it forever. You get attached, you have to hold on. And so then eventually fear of loss creeps in and the dynamic gets a little polluted. If you're judging something as a make wrong, then you're stuck and feeling inadequate and less than, and then not good enough, not enough mental tape kicks in. And so these things don't move you forward and don't move anyone else forward. So I was very judgmental at one point in my life.
Can you something happened to your mic? Can you turn your mic back up, or did you move the recorder?
I don't think so. Am I on?
Yeah, just talk a little louder. There you go.
Okay. At one point in my life, I was very judgmental. I was the critic. And I thought it was a very smart way to be. And I'd also had a mother who said she was my best friend and severest critic. So critiquing and criticism I absorbed as a child as just loving. But really, when we get into that critical mode, what we're doing either to ourselves or others is we're diminishing that creative flow, that creative power, that love power in us. So to try to accomplish things really does become, I'm trying, because we don't have enough juice to get the job done. Now, soul in growth was the phrase I invented or channeled to help me detach from judging other people. We're all here learning, and it's my firm belief at this point in time anyway, that we're all doing the best we can. It just depends on how much doubt and fear we're still carrying with us. So I learned to be more compassionate, more patient with people. And soul in growth was the phrase that got me out of that judgmental process. So I'm hugely indebted to it.
I actually really love that too, because as soon as I say, oh, that's just a soul in growth, that gives me a get out of jail card for myself. Mm-hmm. The mistakes that I make, I can easily have compassion for my ego and my personality. And it also gives me that expanded bodhisattva compassion for all the other me's out there. And then, also, I want to say that, kissing the joy chapter, that was so powerful. Talk about that for a minute. Kissing the joy, that raises you up.
Right. Well, kissing the joy, we aren't trained on how to be happy. We really don't have a skill set or tool set about happy, because most of us grew up thinking that life was hard work, and all this ungood stuff, I want to say. But kissing the joy means just being happy and not feeling guilty or shamed or about it. We're meant to be joyful. Joy is part of the God self and the highest divinity. So it's essence. It's in our essence. It's in our nature. Kiss the joy means you love, you value, and you appreciate the good things in life. And when we appreciate expands whatever we appreciate. So if we appreciate joy, we only get more of it. Gee, that's a tough role, isn't it?
That's so beautiful. And I like the fact that towards the end of the book, you say, are you the real deal? Boy, that's a checkpoint right there. You have to actually believe in yourself.
And be yourself. You have to believe in yourself in order to stand in your truth, stand for who you are, and just love it. It doesn't have to be a defensive, protective thing. It's just, here I am. And I think that's what we love, why we love children so much, little ones particularly, because they have that trust, they have that exuberance, they're willing to express their joy in who they are. They haven't been socialized out of things that we consider appropriate or inappropriate. So it's just about being who you are. The good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly, all of it. You don't judge it. It's just a part of you. And you wake up each morning and say, what do I choose today? Right? We've got free will.
That's so powerful. What were you going to say?
I said, we've got free will. We choose, we create from that choice. And words are the first physical expression of those thoughts and feelings we hold for ourselves and our life. I love it.
That's so true. So we have free will. We have the opportunity to speak our free will, either from our mind or from our heart. And that is one of the biggest choices. So let's talk about, number one, where they can get this book. If you have a website or order it on
Amazon? Go to Amazon at the moment. My website is being overhauled and it will probably be up in another month or two. So for now,
okay. Well, this interview will be evergreen. Okay, when we say a month or two, this could be for the next 10 years. So let's look at this as I'll put both links under right now. If you're getting this in the month of March, April, May, please go to Amazon. After that of 2020, you can go right to, what's your website?
Deirdre'sInsights.com.
Deirdre'sInsights.com. I'm going to put a link below. And also, too, don't you do some soul coaching still?
Oh, yes, I do a lot of reading of spiritual contracts. I do consciousness readings, which shows where you are in your own personal evolution for the year and what issues may be still a little too active. Let's put it that way. What you need to face, what you need to work through. I do that with the tarot. And then I have 2 empowerment programs. One is an extensive 8-session program, and another one is the accelerated program for people who've already done quite a bit of inner work, so they don't need as much. So that's a 6-session program. And it's really about tapping in and getting you in touch with your heart, because the heart for many of us is still layered up. We've got our protective mechanism still in place. And frankly, we don't have time for that. It's time to strip away those defense mechanisms and really just put ourselves out there, body, mind, and heart.
This is one of the best books I think I've ever read. And honestly, this was my best book. Okay. This opened me up and tuned me into my magical abilities. And this is giving me a languaging program. I feel like if I'm a computer biogenetic spaceship temple system interfacing with this world, then this actually is an operating system where I can check myself and see if my heart is really talking or if my mind is talking. And if I take that pause in that moment before I speak, it's something, it's so interesting. I read something, an email from a teacher from my 3rd grader, my little daughter, Reverence, and it said, let your words go through 3 gates. Like, is it kind? Is it necessary? And is it encouraging?
Heart.
Right, the heart. And those are, I think it was Rumi. I might even mess up the quote, but the point is that it does go through the heart gate. And this book, With the Heart Speak, was something that was so profound for me that, first of all, I've read it again and again. I immediately, the same day I read it, bought 2 copies, and I shipped them from Amazon to both parents, because they're in different places, and hopefully they'll get the books. I'm going to send my parents this interview, and I'm going to say that this is so important, because in here you also speak health into existence. So anybody that's suffering with any cold, virus, illness, poverty, disease, divorce, you can speak right into the void, that which you want to create. Talk about that.
Oh, I think you've done a great job with that, but it's true. You just have to give yourself time to be still. Okay. It all comes from stillness. All creativity, successful, fulfilling creativity, comes from that neutral zone within us. So you've got to get neutral. And once we're in neutral, the sky's the limit. It really is. Or what do my grandson said at one point, to infinity and beyond, Deeds. You know, you can do it all. And that's true. It's absolutely true. There are no limits in our lifetime except what we impose on ourselves or what we accept for ourselves. And that's what we have to learn to take responsibility for. And one of the most important things I think we're learning with all this shut-in stuff that we're undergoing, and I'm not minimizing it, trust me, is we're learning not to react. We're learning to take back our power. We now have the time to think through things thoughtfully. We are going to be reprioritizing, looking at our values, looking at the direction we want in life and what's important to us. And I think after this virus finally subsides, we'll see huge shifts we will have reset finances and the economics of the world. We will have reset manufacturing, and we will reset the geopolitical base that we operate with. And I think we'll find things are more cohesive. That is, if we are willing to move into the sense of connection and love and trust. Big leaps.
Well, I'm imagining 1 billion people buying this book. And the reason why is if 1 billion people can speak a new geopolitical, a new spiritual connection, a new communion with Earth, a new harmony on the planet, new healthy bodies, this is the new programming language. Imagine starting with a small sect of 144,000 of us reading this book and then buying a copy. I would inspire everyone watching this video to buy a copy. These are only like $8.99, okay? You can buy a copy of this and then ship a copy to somebody that you love and ask them to do the same thing. Buy a copy and then ship a copy. Why? Because just learning a new code to speak into the existence, the new reality. Let's just talk just a tiny little bit. I had some family members get diagnosed with cancer this year. What are some languaging codes we can speak into the hologram to actually help our bodies heal from cancer?
Well, you've got to just surpass all the physical conditions and say, I am healed, whole, and healthy. But another step we can do, which is equally important, is it's my belief anyway, that most conditions, illness, accidents are mentally, emotionally based. So a condition like cancer, a condition like emphysema or bronchitis, or even a condition like the common cold is rooted in your emotional, mental makeup. And if you can access the emotion that is causing the toxicity to finally break out and be in your system physically, if you can get in touch with that and clear it and cleanse it, and we all have that ability, whether we do it individually or with someone walking by our side. I mean, most people turn to the doctor, but there are other options too to healing. But if you can get to the core, the source of that condition in you that you need to heal, and heal it emotionally, which ultimately is about forgiveness and compassion and loving yourself, then a lot of these things become self-healing. We do have that capacity in us. We choose other means, and that's all right too. But more and more we'll move back into our own natural habitat of ourselves.
This is wonderful. I'm wondering if my father would be open for me to purchase a session from you to work with him just to go into some of that. Do you work with people that have physical issues and go into their emotional withholds?
Yes, oh sure. It's all part. Usually when I'm working with someone, I always start off reading their spiritual contract. I find this gives people, okay, this is pretty accurate. How does she know all this? I feel comfortable with her. Because if someone doesn't feel comfortable with me, we're not going to get anywhere, you know? Because these sessions call for honesty, and sometimes it's brute honesty that we have to go and say mea culpa, yeah, and we don't like doing that.
Okay, wait, say mea culpa. What does that mean? That's Sanskrit.
No, that's Latin. And it means my sin or my responsibility, my fault. All language is my fault. Nah, I don't let you know how I feel about fault. It's, oh, that's my responsibility. Once we own it, then we can heal it. You know, I did this to myself.
You replace, because fault is in here as one of those things you don't want to do. It's like next to guilt. Fault and guilt have a little like line through them. So you're saying, instead of saying it's my fault, you're saying it's my responsibility, and that gives you the power to change the way you respond.
Right, because look at the word responsibility. It means to respond ably. That's all you need. But we have to own it in order to heal it. And we have to be the source. It can't be a bug from, you know, the neighbor or the boyfriend or the girlfriend or the cat. You know, who knows? There was a vulnerability in us, and we consented to go through this illness, this accident, whatever. Yeah.
I call them initiations. You know, I was in a wheelchair as a child, and I had a 4-year tour in and out of obstacles with braces and crutches and casts and hospital beds and surgeries. And I did learn a lot about my spiritual and emotional dispositions, and also too navigating through the winter of my childhood. Now, how long do you work with somebody? Is it like, are you on an hour basis, or like if someone were going to do a session that had been diagnosed with the disease, how do you know how long that the session will last?
No, it's not a one session thing. It's an hour, and usually I can tell after the first session how receptive, how open, how ready a person is, or how willing they are to get through it, you know, or is there going to be resistance to accepting the source of the issue? Yeah.
Okay, well, I would like to, after this call, talk to you a little bit about, and I would like to purchase a session for a family member. And if they're open to that, I would love for you to do some of that work, because I feel, number one, it's self-inventory, it's self-inquiry at the core. And that's going to help open up more energy anyway, just to get to the bottom of the emotions. And I do know typically males don't feel as free with their emotional body and their heart energy as the feminine. And so that is kind of like a paradigm shift we're going through right now, where men, it's okay for them to be emotional.
It must be, you know. Besides, you know, we've socialized. We have to take responsibility that society has socialized the emotional, the feminine out of men, or at least told them to suppress it or repress it. I mean, you notice if a 5-year-old little girl falls down and hurts her knee, we all go over and boo-boo and fix it and hug her, and she'll stop crying. But if a little boy, 5-year-old, goes and trips and falls and starts crying, we tell him, come on, tough it out, be a man, and we'll fix it. But we suppress that emotional pain he's in. We've done this to men. And so men consider the heart, the emotions, a second-class citizen. Now they have to backtrack. Now they have to undo years, and maybe, of course, we're talking lifetimes, because this third operated for at least 5,000 years, you know, and they have a lot. We've got to be patient and kind and loving with the guys. They have a much tougher road to hoe than what we do as women. We've been allowed to be emotional. And, you know, granted, the men have rolled their eyeballs, or at one point in Victorian, Edwardian times, it was considered the hysterical woman because she was emotional. But we at least have had that outlet for 50% of ourselves, which is creative and emotional. Men haven't. So yeah, I think men who are willing to go there are tremendously brave, and hats off to them. Yeah.
So beautiful, so beautiful, so beautiful. So this Heart Speak is harnessing the hidden power of words. I can't say this title enough. Heart Speak. If we could have humanity for the first time globally, collectively, speaking from their heart, all of our issues on this planet can be transformed and transmuted. And for me, I've been channeling since I was 5, and I knew that the golden age was going to happen in my lifetime. And I knew people like you were going to be on the forefront of the cutting edge of the cutting edge of the cutting edge. Now, I didn't foresee a virus shutting down the whole planet, but I knew that we were going to go dormant for a while to reconstruct. And I think this is a perfect first step. And I hope everybody buys this book and just is witnessing their own languaging and upgrading their program systems and watching as their own scientist of their own life, how their lives are changing. I am so grateful to you, Deirdre Morgan, for writing this beautiful book. I just love you so much.
Oh, thank you. And you know that's a return. Thank you for having me on. And I love talking about it, obviously. I believe in it. And this year, 2020, what's 2020 represent? Your vision, perfect vision. So it's asking clear vision of who you are and what you want and love in life. So Heart Speak is a primer. It's a first step in creating that life and being that person you always knew you were. You just have to open the door and go through it now. Yeah.
Yes. And I really want to say that I hope that you really do a press conference. I hope that you tell all of the news stations all about this book, because right now many people are, quarantined and they're afraid and they're just listening to the negative news. And there's another whole side to that coin. Both, a coin has two sides, heads and tails. And the other side is our self-empowerment and our ability to reprogram ourselves and ourselves with a new language, which is Heart Speaks. I love you so much. Thank you for being a guest. And those of you who'd like to get a hold of her to do a session, I highly recommend that, or purchase this book, Heart Speak, on Amazon.com. There's going to be a link below, and we'll probably do another interview with her in the future. But I love you so much, Deirdre. If there's anything you want to say to humanity before we go, here's your time.
This is the time to take a new lease on life. So let's do it. Let's come from the heart. Let's share that love. Put it out there. We've got nothing to lose. And I love you all. And I love you. Thank you so much for having me. We'll talk soon, okay?
Thank you so much. Blessings and light. And everybody out there on YouTube, if you love this show, please subscribe, hit the link below, and stay updated with how you can keep your vibration high and bright. And definitely pick up this book, Heart Speaks. It is amazing. I'm probably going to be ordering a couple more copies and sending them off to some other friends. I love you so much, Deirdre, and I'll talk with you soon. Mwah. Everybody stay tuned. Blessings.
Bye now.
Bye.